This is this is again a tribute to our cat. We had a cat for a long time over the last ever since we've been out to this house, and he's really become a big part of the family. And we've had to. He was just passed away, and it's been really hard on everybody here. But we're trying to get through, and hopefully we can try to see him through to the other side. Man, he had a great soul. You never know about animals. That this animal was special. He had a special vibe to him. Man, it was great with the kids in the beginning, but when they were young to right up to now.
I'm not waiting for you. Tired of waiting for you. Tired of waiting. Tired of waiting for you. I'm not waiting, so tired of waiting for you. Tired of waiting.
Hello and welcome back into another episode of Tony Talking Trash About Music. Welcome in. It's a kind of a quiet evening, and it's kind of appropriate for our artist tonight. They were going to speak about the late, great Tim Buckley. He only graced us for about 28 years of his presence, but my golly, did he wag his tail through a ton of different type of music during that period of time. Unfortunately, Mr. Buckley's lifestyle was that such that he would end up inevitably join the young club of, it's not 27 or 28. I don't forget which one it is, but he was 28 when he died. And he died of a heroin overdose. But let's talk about what he did before that. That's not important. Obviously, everybody knows he was the father of Jeff Buckley. A lot of people are a lot more, a lot more enamored and know a lot more about Jeff Buckley more in time because he's closer. And Jeff Buckley probably stuck more to his style, even though some of his stuff with Gary Lucas and stuff was a little bit out there. But Tim Buckley, not so at all. He basically teamed up at a young age. Grew up in Washington D.C., but then went out to the West Coast. When he went to West Coast, he was a star in everything in school. A big kid to do well, playing sports, everything else. Ended up playing music. Fell in with some friends. This gentleman by the name of Barry Beckett, who he wrote a lot of music with all the way through, and we'll talk a lot about that here. But basically, Buckley was recommended by Jimmy Carl Black actually to check out to Herb Cohen. Herb Cohen really fell for him. And the big gentleman that played with him for the longest period of time was a guitar player by the name of Lee Underwood. And he is kind of his style, you wouldn't think his style would be such that would sail through all this different type of music. It's just amazing that he could maintain through all these different types. And I'll speak to you about these different records. These records are completely different. You go from the early time of really folk rock, and then you move on into something completely different. And by the time you get to Star Sailor, you're in another world. And part of it may have been due to the drugs. I know he was really notoriously not that good personal life wise. Song to the Siren is one of his big songs that speaks to it. And it's just he had a really interesting period. But before he died, too, he also had a funk period. And the funk period was kind of weird. It was just it was kind of out there trying to maybe tag onto the Tower of Power or this kind of Boss Skaggs or something that not really fitting, and very sexual lyrics on that stuff too. A lot more than the stuff before. Just a strange way to go out. But nevertheless, I guess I can cover this now. But on June 28th, 1975, and we can get into his records right after this. He completed a short tour in Dallas, and he played 1,800 people, sold out show. And on the next night, he went with his friend by the name of Richard Keeling is his name. And evidently, Mr. Keeling produced a bag of no-no. And after that, Tim Buckley was no longer. And so Mr. Keeling got charged with manslaughter as a result of it. He actually got criminally charged as a result of the death of Tim Buckley. A lot of people don't know that. And but basically, the coroner's report was acute heroin, morphine, and ethanol intoxication due to inhalation and indigestion of overdose. And we lost another one. But truthfully, for the substance of what he did, for what I liked, a lot of it had gone before. His last couple records we'll speak about that. But let's get into it right now. You're going to see an artist that really maintained and developed his own voice, and it's kind of in a way that I think had said something during the Jap Rock thing about some of these bands. You know, this is kind of a door. I discovered this later in life. I really tried several times to get into Tim Buckley. I like Goodbye and Hello early, and I like Blue Afternoon early because I'd heard it on the Zapped sampler, the Frank Zappa thing. But it was when I went back and checked out his catalog, it was truly incredible. Let's start at 1974, and the last record he released before that fatal concert in Dallas and such would be his last record that he ever did, and was for Warner Brothers in 1974, called "Look at the Fool." Um, reasonable record on Discreet Records, of course. You're looking at small bands, Earl Palmer playing drums. They tried to really, there's no problem with the musicianship behind. The problem with this is the songs. Bring It On Up, ain't it pretty, or ain't it peculiar? I'm sorry, he does a version. That Freeway Blues is nice. Tijuana Moon, Who Could Deny You, Down to the Street, Wanderloo. But the problem is at this point, the direction that he had gone with the avant-garde had really smoothed itself out into an attempt to try to be commercial. These songs all have beats to them, and to a certain extent, live it had some grunting and some oohing and some awing. It's really, some of the stuff is kind of, the lyrics are somewhat sexual to an uncomfortable point, as far as I'm concerned. I really see this as a big drop off myself. I'm going to only rate this 2 stars out of 5, and let's get winding down here with this into the next one. And the next one, I'm not going to go very far from it. Let me try to get this record back in here, guys. I'm sorry. It's when you deal with vinyl, it's what you do. And I should have all these things in their nice bags, but this is a Discreet record. The same label that Zappa was on, Herb Cohen owned. And as I explained in just my last video, Herbie and Frank were pretty much simpatico until that whole Beefheart issue happened not too long after this. That was 76 or so. That was 74. It's probably 2 years away. Okay. What I'm talking about here, let's talk about the 1972 record, the first one, and the one that was the most shocking to me. Greetings from LA. There's 3 records in this soul funk thing at the end. This is the first of the 3. This is probably the closest style wise to what they were going for that happened. This is why he still had it going on. Get on Top. This is some pretty serious sexual stuff here. This is I got a white label of this. It's called Nighthawk, and that's right. You can't tell, but in a Hong Kong bar, make it right. Every one of these is about, almost every song here is about just love and and after hours fun and partying and stuff. And I just, to me, I think he had some problems before. You could actually pop this out. This is a postcard that you could actually pop out here from the start. If I open this, I'll show you what I mean. But you got a postcard there in the back of this, and then this is the picture of Tim here. But at that time, he was, even though he was looking there, he had his smog goggles on. He was busy having his own fun there, and headed down a hole that would end up leaving him really penniless. At the end of his life, I think they said he had his guitar. He didn't have much more than just his immediate possessions, and it's a shame, but it's another one of these stories where, you give the guy money and he goes and buys drugs with the money and doesn't invest it and does it and has other women and stuff to pay it to and other things to happen. And this is what happens. But anyway, that's where we are. Let's cap off the soul funk trio at the end here with Sefronia. They used to call my son Joseph Sefrino, but Sefronia, this is close to it. This is another Discreet record. This is a white label that I have here. These are kind of easy to come by, but there's a lot of good songs on this. Honey Man I like a lot. Peanut Man is good. Dolphins is fantastic. Dolphins is the one that you'd hear live. He played Dolphins a lot. Sally Go Around the Roses, of course, and then the Sefronia has a couple different moves to it. After the King's Chair, after Ankle Piades. I don't know what it is, but that's not what the lyrics say. Um, I know I quicksand is good, but again, you can start to see it fall down. I think he just decided he was going to stay with this style. I wish he would have gone a little bit more avant-garde to go back or to try something different. But again, this is probably the style, and it's funny that I rank him the lowest. I ranked him 7, 8, and 9, but it's probably the style that he's. Well, I know it is. It's the style that he stayed with the longest. But unfortunately, I think he just settled into that. Not that there was a lot of success. I guess Greetings from L.A. did okay, but none of them charted after. Happy Sad was probably the only one to chart it in the U.S. Charted at like 81, made the top 100. Blue Afternoon, Goodbye, and Hello also did. Which is one of my favorite. Let's dip back here to the very first record. This record, I think Lee Underwood said this was confusing. It is a confusing record. I mean, there's a lot of songs here that he wrote by himself, and then some with Barry Beckett too. We talked about that. Uh, Aren't You the Girl is Beautiful? That's one of his himself. I Can't See You. Song of the Magician really is a big one. And the second one, She Is. Understand Your Man is a little bit. The lyrics now is a little bit. I don't know. You want to say pushy or just kind of out of step with stuff. But song for Janie's beautiful. Song slowly. Song is really really beautiful, and that's Barry Beckett's. And Barry Beckett's words, will be a little deeper. And I think at this point, when they first started out, the Beckett songs on this record, I prefer the lyrics to them. I think Tim got his stuff together a little more, and Beckett was doing something different. I have this on the whatever Red Electro label, and I guess it's an early record here. It's got the 51 West address on it anyway, but it is a Electra Records, and this predated the Frank Zappa deal. Of course, it kind of happened later, but Herb Cohen, although he's not on a Herb Cohen label, he's on Jock Holzman's label, Electra. Herb Cohen brokered the deal. Herb Cohen was involved this early on. Let's get then to number 5. This is the one that has I Must Have Been Blind on it. It's on the great Frank Zappa compilation, Zap. Beautiful jazzy record. This is an easy. You take a look at the cover, and this is kind of what you get. It's a nice, blooming, positive. You look at here, you look at the colors, you can see the promotion similar to the Zappa stuff with the type of art. This is really a tip-on jacket. It's really nice. It's glossy. They really put money into this. So Lonely Cafe. I mean, this whole Blue Melody, I really like the second side. I think the second side is I Must Have Been Blind. I like. I don't particularly. Happy Time is decent. But I don't like Chase the Blues Away or the River's okay. It's a little long. But I think it's a really strong record. This is really where his voice starts to come forward, and they start to get a little bit avant-garde with what's happening here. These songs, all here selections, Third World, Engineering, all music and lyrics by Tim Buckley. This is when Barry was out of it, so he's starting to drift towards the place that we will see later. And this is really a good record. It's difficult for me at this point to rate this as low because the truth of it is from this point up, 5 up, they're all damn good. I mean, I like them all. I really do. His first record is, I can see that's kind of where he's kind of finding his footing, and the sound isn't quite as good. But you've got Lee Underwood on all these, and to kind of to give a continuity to it. But my God, Blue Afternoon is way more jazzy. I mean, much more jazz chords, and it's amazing to me to have somebody that could do that and to go into so many different areas. And so, let's look at. Hold on a second here. Let's look at this one right here. Hold on. Okay. All right. We are now at number 4, and number 4 is a really close call, but I love this. It's Goodbye and Hello. This is kind of a Baroque music. It's the best way I can describe it. This music is folky, but there's a lot of keyboards in it that are really nice. You've got No Man Can Find the Word. This Barry Beckett is all through this. This is a little more alliterate music, more a la Dylan, pressing those ways with the lyrics. And I think Barry really was the one that pushed that stuff. Although there's a lot of great songs here, Carnival Song in Pleasant Street, Hallucinations, I Never Asked to Be Your Mountain, another, this is one to his ex, after they had broken up and had the child, etc. It's kind of uncomfortable listening. Morning Glory's Beautiful Goodbye and Hello, another beautiful one. And both those are Beckett records. The second side is the last three songs are, and Night Errant is about as avant-garde as it gets. Once I Was is nice. Phantasmagoria in two is a little bit reaching here too. I mean, if a fiddler played your song, My Love, and I gave you a wheel, would you spin for my heart and loneliness? Would you spin for my love? It all depicts a man that's questioning, the loyalty of people, and questioning on his songs, questioning the trust really. And, and then on the other hand, then you've got Barry Beckett writing stuff like Photographs of Guns and Flames, Scarlet Skull and Distant Game, Bayonet and Jungle Grin, Nightmares Dreamed of the Bleeding Men. I mean, it's just a completely different contrast. And you've got that with this record, but this record, I love it. I think it's very, really strong. I think everybody should hear this. This is a record I think from here on up, everybody should have these last four. It took me a long time to get to this guy. So if you hear it at the beginning and you don't like it, stay with it. It is something that will reward you greater. And here's probably his biggest charting record here, Happy Santa. This is more along the Baroque thing. And they even take like a Jack Bruce type of a look. I mean, it looks almost exactly like the Jack Bruce record from its time. But this is one with a longer song, The Love from Room 109 at the Islander on Pacific Coast Highway. This is the one where it's just kind of, a little bit more folky, a little bit meandering on. Buzz and Fly, of course, is one that they heard a lot. Gypsy Woman, Dream Letter, Sing a Song for You. Gypsy Woman is the long piece on the record. This has two longer songs, but this ironically did better. And it's produced by Jerry Yester, and it's the same Jerry Yester and Zal from the Love and Spoonful, and it sounds like it. And Jerry Yester was playing at that time with the Love and Spoonful, and he also released on the straight record label that Goodbye, him, Jerry Yester, and what was the gal's name that did the Goodbye Aldebaran or something? Fantastic record. I have that up here. I don't remember the pronunciation of it, but really a good Baroque folk record. There's some really great songs on that one too. And it reminds me of this. This is what it sounds like. It's just amazing. The photo on the back with the burst of the deal with him. I mean, he looks a little bit ragged at this time. I can't deny or confirm, what was going on at this time. It sounds like it's beginning to, things are starting, and he's starting to dream and being able to use this stuff. And this was a big record for me, 1969. I'm going to rate this 4.5 stars. I rate Blue Afternoon and Goodbye and Hello 4, but I'm going to do this 4.5. I really think people should have these. These are really, really good. And now let's go on to the last two. And the last two, this is another 4.5 one here. This is Lorca. And I remember being stunned at this one. This was the one, I heard this one first before I heard the number one record, which I'll tell you in a minute. And I just remember being stunned at how avant-garde it is, because you can still hear Lee Underwood there with his guitar going, but things are just different now. You've got a different band. You have an upright bass player and you have a conga player. And the conga player, Carter Collins, moved on through. But you can take a look out in the field or wherever he is. Take a look at the picture of Tim. Tim is, in this picture, looks like he's, not all there at this point. And you get the picture of him on the front. And again, a 9-minute song, Lorca, to start off with, an anonymous proposition. I had a talk with my woman, Drift and Nobody Walking. This really is part one of Star Sailor. And this was released kind of as a last ditch deal here. I think this was released When you look at it, it was released in June 1970. And it was the last one for Elektra. And it's funny that he followed it up on the Straight label so quickly, because that, folks, as you know, is my number one. And my number one here is everybody else's number one. And I know you've heard about these records that are legendary, like your Trout Mask replica or your Shags record or something that just turned caved your head in completely. Well, if you haven't heard this, you can add this to the list. This is a record called Star Sailor, and there's a reason why the band called themselves Star Sailor here. And the pictures here are scant. This is the same band that we had before. String bass, John Balkin, Lee Underwood on guitar. Sometimes he plays pipe organ and on this an electric piano. To the mix, they have added, on Tim playing 12 string guitar, they've added Buzz Gardner and Maury Baker on timpani and traps and Bunk Gardner. So they don't have a real drummer. There's some live performances of this stuff, and I'm telling you, only one of the Gardners was playing. I think it was Bunk, and it's just unbelievable. I mean, you've got Bunk Gardner playing while he's singing these songs vocally. You're never going to hear anything like this. This is so avant-garde and so loose and so unusual that this is something you really need to hear. And you might not want to like it. You might not like it. You might not want to buy it. It might be like Trout Mask to you. You might say, no, it's not. But it is amazing that on this label itself, and this is the first, right here, you can see the Straight Warner Brothers right there in the corner. This is on Straight. This is a precious, precious, precious record. There's nothing else like it. And especially Star Sailor, the song itself, is the healing festival with some of the ring modulation, some of the stuff going on with the vocals. It is a vocal masterpiece, and it is an effects masterpiece. This is a record that I would tell you to get in the mood, get your headphones on, and close your eyes and let this take you away. And it might scare you. This is a place where you have no idea, with this kind of cover, that the sounds that exist within. You've got no idea, and I can't even explain it to you. It is some of the weirdest vocal music and some of the coolest with the instrumentation, the coloration, the songs, the lyrics, everything. It is so unique. But it is clearly, to me, a 5-star record. You don't get to this place without blindly going for it, and evidently that's what he did, because I see no evidence of ever really any monetary success in his life. He just drove ahead doing what he was doing, kind of a vagabond lifestyle from my understanding from kind of this point forward. And to know that he kept it together and that they had some tours happening and stuff, and to think about what they had to go through. But as I said, unfortunately and tragically, this being in 1970, and about the time Lick My Decals was off. I mean, was out. This is the same time period. So this is some crazy stuff going over there at Straight Records. But this is absolutely fits alongside some of the great other things that happen there. And I'm talking about the Beefheart Records. It's absolutely is innovative in its own way. And I don't know if the Beefheart Records or whatever pushed him this way, or Zappa pushed him this way, or, being around Herb Cohen. Who knows? But there's nothing like this, and they never came back to anything close to this. After it was done, I guarantee you somebody sat down, they had a talk, they said, okay, now, we're trying to sell records here, because, I mean, this is really his avant-garde record, but it's really, really, really something. I mean, I would just urge any of you right now, go to YouTube, when you turn this off and plug in Star Sailor, the song, and take a listen. And even any of it, Jungle Fire, even Moulin Rouge with that dun 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 na 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 na. There's just something that's detached here, and he's on his own cloud, and you should visit it. You should visit it, because it's rarefied air, buddies. Thanks a lot for checking in with this. I'm sorry if it was a little bit long, rambling tonight. It's a little bit late this evening, so we'll catch you next time with some good stuff. Please smash the like button, subscribe button. And if you can, leave your comments, especially people that know a little bit about Tim Buckley, because I'm still, I feel that I know his music and I've really discovered it late in life, and I've really spent a good time listening to it. And I just find it more rewarding, but it took me a real long time to penetrate it. And don't be discouraged if it does. Stay with it. It will pay off for you. But again, I wouldn't start with Star Sailor. It might make sense to maybe start with some of the funk stuff and maybe start Blue Afternoon and move into Combine Hello and Happy Sad. And then the potent stuff is Lorca. Lorca is like a 70% shot, and Star Sailor is 125% shot. So, but anyway, thanks a lot, guys, and we will catch you next time.